5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another evening at the KTPF, that's Keeping the Paranormal Friendly Community Talk Show here in Manchester, UK. And tonight, unfortunately, we have a changing guest. Tonight we have with us Chris Andrews from Club Zero Paranormal in Stockport. More about him in a moment. The reason being is because Ryan Gooding unfortunately had to change the schedule due to family problems, but he's going to get back to me with another date to come back on the show. So Andy Mercer, don't worry, you can still get your reading. But tonight we are also talking to, as I say, Chris, which we'll be talking about his ParaCom, which was scheduled for a couple of weeks' time, but thankfully he stepped into the breach and come forward for us tonight. Yes, Andy, the medium. So before we start any further, what I want to do is just acknowledge those that are in the chat room at the moment, give you a shout out. We have PJ Corvus out there, and we have Andy 707. We have Mank Hypno Man, he's back, nice to see you back again. And we also have Tigger, good evening Tigger. We've got the Norwich Paranormal Society as well. So we've got quite a few viewers that's on there, but can't actually see many of them that are in the chat room, but hopefully they'll join us too in the coming minutes. Now, what I would like to say is remind you that if we have any problems with the live feed, because it's down to America, they may be doing something. If you have a problem and it freezes, just redo it, refresh your page. If anything happens to us and we lose it, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. It is being recorded, so it will be there for listen again purposes. Isn't that right, Steve?
It is indeed, and just in case I guess can't see it, PJ Covers has actually said good evening to everybody.
Yeah, that's nice of him. And Tigger said he's managed to fix the K2 meter. Yay! All ready for next Saturday.
He's found a switch.
He's found a switch. So it's nice to see everyone back in the chat room. And tonight, as I say, even though our medium isn't with us tonight, we're still going to have a good show because we've got our good friend with us, Chris Andrews. Now, Chris, how has things been with you?
Hi, good evening, Sue. Yeah, not bad, thanks. Not bad at all. Things are going quite steady. Going good, yeah. Thanks very much.
Club Zero going all right?
It's doing fine, yeah. It's it's soldiering on. It's been a good few years since we've been, in operation. Mm-hmm. Obviously, times change with things and but yeah, I think we're adapting quite nicely. We're looking at different aspects, different areas of things, and sort of moving with the times, as it were. So.
I understand you're going to restart your meetings.
Yeah, the last meeting we had was in May last year, and that was our 10th year running. So we decided we closed them down for a while, and it was getting a bit rather expensive to run as well because we've been quite lavish, I suppose, in some respects. We closed them down for a while and concentrated more online presence, mm-hmm. But we've had contacts from people who, they've stipulated that they'd like to see the meetings come back. So we thought, why not? We can, not everybody can access the internet anyway. No. So we'll try and take the meetings back.
It'd be good if people, some people do say they want them back, but when it comes back, sometimes they don't turn up.
That's always a factor. Yeah. It's always a factor. Sometimes you might expect it to be overrun, or you might get there with just a couple of people.
Yeah, well, this is it.
But I suppose it's down to the people out there in the community to support maybe the groups and go to all the meetings, not just ours, but obviously other groups as well, because they're doing it for a specific reason to try and get that out there, aren't they? So
this is it.
Yeah, and we're getting it in early, and you can do it again later. Can you tell everybody where you're actually holding your meeting?
It's a place it's a restaurant stroke pub. It's the Barn House restaurant, and that's on Bents Lane, Higher Bents Lane rather, which is in Stockport, and the postcode for that is Sierra Kilo 6 2 5W. So that's the Barn House in Stockport. You can find that on our Facebook page.
In case you guys were wondering why I was showing him the address, he does know it, but he's lousy at postcodes.
I'm very lousy at postcodes, yeah. Very.
I don't know. Well, we'll come back to Chris in a minute and find out a bit more of why he's here and what he's been up to in the past few months that we haven't seen him. He's also brought along Emma with us. You may hear her dulcet tones every now and again. Hi, Emma.
Hi.
Yeah, she's there in the background, so she'll be chipping in somewhere along the line, I no doubt. So anyway, we'll start off with the observations, I think, Steve.
Yes. Those of you that was with us last week, you remember the house in Gary, Indiana, that was haunted. Even the police chief was saying about it. Well, the Zach Beggins has actually bought it.
That's that guy from Ghost Adventures.
It is. That's the one. He's they call it the portal to hell. They're calling it. The rumours are true. Zach Bagans has purchased a house in Gary, Indiana. He has earned a reputation as a portal to hell. The unassuming house on a quiet street has been a nightmare for Latoya Ammons and her 3 children, who were all possessed by an evil entity. It was police, nurses, and actually saw their children walking backwards up an wall. That's one place you wouldn't want to be on your own.
Reiki Debs is asking how much it was. Does it tell you?
He paid $35,000 for it, so he got it quite cheap. So there you go.
I'm trying to get him on the show.
Yes, he won't answer us.
I know, along with other people.
But what he's going to do is he's going to document it all.
Well, that'd be good.
So everything that happens. I'm assuming it'll be a bit like Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
He'll have all cameras set up and everywhere so it can all be seen.
Funny you should say that. There's a place in Staffordshire, I think it is, called the Moat House, and they've got a group that's actually running the events there, and they're setting up cameras so people can actually watch it live. And that's going to be if you booked something there, people who couldn't come can actually watch it. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that.
Yeah, so they can actually watch you doing your investigation. They're covering everything there. That's brilliant. Now I can't decide if this is morbid or awesome. The story came with pictures and showed this guy sitting on a Harley in a glass case on the trailer. Bill Stanley of Ohio. Loved his 1967 Harley Davidson Electric Ride Cruiser. I don't blame him for that. That's one hell of a bike. His life revolved around his love for his chopper, so the 82-year-old wanted to make sure his death did too. He planned it was maybe just a little bit weird. Okay, really weird. Bill and his sons planned what would happen at his funeral. The Ohio man was dying of cancer, so he thought it out and wanted his funeral to be on the way he liked it. He decided to be buried astride his beloved motorcycle in a see-through casket. At the funeral, Bill went for one last ride. Wow. Yeah, actually, he was on the back of a trailer going through the streets and everybody was watching. He made his funeral preparations. He bought 3 large plots next to his wife so his unique casket would fit. His sons Pete and Roy built the specifically built casket out of plexiglass and reinforced the bottom with wood and metal. When preparing Bill's body, embalmers gave him a metal back brace and strapped into it so he'd sit up there like this on his hog.
God.
I mean, what a way to go for a bike, eh?
That reminds me of a film I used to see back in the early 70s, Psychomania, I think it was called. He was actually buried with his bike, and then they came back from the dead. Literally, Hell's Angels.
In that the one that actually drove out?
He drove out the actual grave.
Out the grave, yes. I remember that one. And that was all sourced in the Daily Mail.
Really?
So
Thank you to the Daily Mail.
So some of our local papers do pick up on these things. There's a new episode of Chill Seekers Ghost Hunt. This specific episode was documented what happened after the investigation in Modesto, CA. A negative energy attached itself to members. of the team causing problems in their life and almost ending chill seekers altogether. One of their members had to stop ghost hunting altogether after the experience. Now, these are supposed to be experienced people. They're doing it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they not know they had something that was still with them? I mean, by all accounts, they're supposed to be better than we are, and we would know if we had somebody with us.
Oh, yeah.
So why didn't they? And do something about it? What do you think, Chris?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, like you say, I mean, they're experienced, you know. I mean, most of these like are on the television, aren't they, and things like that, you know, for different programs and things like that. But you'd know anyway. There's ways of detecting negative, you know, types of phenomena in that scenario. But I think a lot of programs on the television are, you know, probably due to ratings and things like that. But it's the realism of things, isn't it? You know. But to put themselves in that situation in the first place, you know, without any form of you know, looking out for themselves, or doing maybe a bit of research into the place where they're going beforehand.
Yeah.
They might have known a little bit more before just walking in with their eyes closed.
This is it.
I mean, we both run events, and at the end of every night, we make sure that everybody goes home with nothing more than what they came with. Yeah. So why can't they do it for themselves?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make sense at all. I mean, I know Andy's idea of this is, and he said it before. Nothing ever goes home with you. He's told us so many times because it doesn't want to be anywhere else but where it is.
Yeah, well,
so none of this makes
sense.
Jo
Alton, who's in the chat room. Hi, Jo. Nice to see you. She said maybe they were dismissive and didn't want to believe it. Sometimes people just think maybe they are tired, seeing things, feeling ill, etc. And PJ says depends on what they were doing on the invest. And Andy says it's never happened to him.
It's never happened to us either.
So
how about yourself?
I've seen it happen, but it's not. I don't think it's actually happened to me personally. You know, I mean, so maybe some people actually go into places. Maybe a person's perception can play a lot part of it as well. If a person sees a haunted building or alleged haunted building that looks more gothic or something like that, then obviously they've got that fear factor in the mind.
Yes.
If they've got that fear factor in the mind, they can be opening all sorts of things for their own personal feelings, where they might be experiencing negativity that might not necessarily be there because it's created in their own minds. Hence, it would affect one person more than somebody else. You know.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. We was talking about this with Steve Mara recently, wasn't we? Whereas people have a perception going into an event could cause more of the paranormal phenomena that they're getting.
It's like a meme. You know, you can have a meme. You can put something out there into someone's mind, and that can spread from one. You know, it's always easier to destroy than what it is to create. So, you know, if you're sitting around, you only have to mention something on the bad side of things or the negative aspect, and then before long, that's spread wildfire, and everybody's hysterical with different things. And that's not always the case when most of it can be rationalised.
Yeah, I mean, they did an experiment a little while ago, and you can actually get it on YouTube. Was it the Philip experiment?
Yeah.
I keep getting the name right. They actually made up a ghost called Philip, and before long, Philip actually turned up.
Yeah.
A ghost that didn't exist.
Yeah, projections to be very real.
Yeah.
This is it. Well, Jo says it hasn't happened to her either, but I have always made a point to close down after an invest before even getting in my car. But that is due to my belief system.
That's good because everybody's belief is unique. They should, they should maintain the beliefs and be respected for that.
But she's right. It's what you should do. You should shut everything down before you leave.
Yeah.
I mean, we go on these invest and we hold hands in circles, and a lot of people don't realise the mere fact that you're in a circle pushing light round is protection. You're opening up a vortex. You open up a doorway that has to be shut down. A lot of groups don't. They just let go of hands and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, I find that difficult for me personally when you get people that will say, they close your eyes. I want you to imagine this white light, going from one side into your body, it's going through to the other, and I want this to pass around.
Yeah,
that's a good way of doing it. Of course it is. It's an energy builder. But I struggle sometimes. I think, well, the white light doesn't do that for me.
No.
Other people might have different scenarios, and what I do is think more like what each person's individual, so they have their own different trains of thought. What's more positive for them? Somebody might visualize a waste packet coming through the post or something, something that keeps them, their mind grounded. and that's their safe haven. So some people the white light might work, or laying on a beach drinking a pina colada might work.
Well, Joe came back and said it's difficult to view a light as long as you keep
a positive
a
image.
positive image. It can tune your energy to a more positive state. She said, Chris is saying that too, ha ha ha. And Reiki Deb says she's on the fence with that after reading about shamanism. So, what's the next one then, Steve?
Next one, family swapped their haunted house in Cardiff after ghost terror. Lisa Way experienced many paranormal events at her home in Cardiff. A terrified family have swapped a house amongst themselves because they fear it is haunted. And the Hot Potato House is still showing signs of paranormal presence, despite a vicar being drafted in to perform an exorcism. So there you go. Can you actually exorcise a house? You're supposed to be able to exorcise a person.
Yeah.
I say supposed to because I've never seen it. I don't know if it works.
I think it's more of a blessing.
But can you actually exorcise a house?
I think they more come and bless it.
Well, the house would probably be more residual. I mean, the most common form of haunting anyway is residual energy anyway. So, or so it's believed. But I mean, a building property as such would probably be more likely to hold the residual energy of certain aspects, which I would probably find difficult to bless, because if it was a residual attribute, blessing something on a house, maybe I don't see if that could work. If it was a live, actual, intelligent type of haunting, then maybe, But then I suppose it all depends on your perception of things.
Yeah, PJ said it worked, but
there's always a big but.
There's always a big but there. Yeah, I know what you mean. There's another one for you. A little girl has baffled doctors by crying stones instead of tears.
Yeah. That's a phenomena that's been mentioned a few times, hasn't it?
You have to forgive me on this one. I got the big words again. The Yemeni girl 12 produces little hard stones under her eyelids. Doctors said they could still not give an explanation for such phenomena, since the girl Sadia Salah is not suffering from any known disease. Unfortunately, this triggered a panic in rural areas where they assumed the girl must be possessed by magic. There's a YouTube film aired by Yemen's Azel satellite TV channel showed doctors gathering a small box full of stones that dropped out the girl's eyes in just a few hours. Local presenter said this case is the second strange phenomenon in the region. This case has triggered panic in the area where this girl lives. Some say the girl could be gripped by a magic spell, while others say it might be the devil. Others fear it could be the start of a dangerous epidemic.
See, it's things like that, I think, that that causes a lot of problems when such a statement. It's others might say it might be the devil. Anything that's unknown, it's always got to be related, pushed into that direction, and then that spurs people away from things, and that then makes people go into hiding from such, and you'll never uncover the true answers. It's not all related to the devil.
It's not, no, but you got to think that we're talking about a rural area in a country that's not very well.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're still living on their past rituals and stuff.
Well, there's a similar incident where a little girl was her tears came out as glass.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the repercussions of that, the outcomes of that, but you heard, that was a report some while ago, but nobody ever hears anything about that since. And obviously this has come to light about the little girl with the stones and things. And maybe it's just a phenomenon that happens, and maybe obviously there's evolution and there's all types of different things that go on, and it's just things that happen. It might want looking into a bit more. So obviously she might have some extra gene or chromosome.
Well, going back to the chat room, Joe says that stone thing can be a medical thing. It occurs when toxins build in the tear duct. So, and she mentioned about the haunted house earlier. Why would you swap your house if it's haunted? Surely that would be interesting. People can be more afraid of the unknown rather than familiarising themselves with the energy of the building. And going back to what you just read about, she said it's a bit like gallstones. So,
yeah. Now, I actually think this one's quite nice.
Okay.
Ex-wife ghost looks for me.
Okay.
In late December 2013, my ex-wife, we had been divorced 20 years, suddenly died unexpectedly one evening. I got a call from my daughters the next morning and travelled from southern state to Chicago to be with them. I stayed with them in their mother's house. The funeral was on Thursday, Thursday night, I woke about 2 a.m. From a very sound sleep because someone was smoking in my room. I mean, sharp, pungent cigarette smoke. However, no one else was in the room, and I'm not a smoker. My ex was, and we had numerous arguments about this over our 10-year marriage. The smoke smell lasted only a few minutes, but I got up to see if my daughters had some friends come over, but found they were sound asleep. The next morning I called my wife down south and told her about the smoke. Listen to what happened here, she said. About 10 p.m. Eastern time, I heard someone coming down the hallway. She called out, "Who's there?" No response. With a flashlight and a handgun, she checked out the house to find everything locked up tight. About an hour later, she heard someone call hello from the hallway again. This was in, hang on, let me bring the page down, the hallway, and everything was locked, and she did not get much sleep that night either. We feel that my ex-wife was looking for me. She first tried my home and later found me in her home in Chicago. She used to smoke to let me know that she was okay with me being with my girls.
Aww.
That's quite nice, that, isn't it?
Very nice, that one.
I mean, yes, they're probably jumping to conclusions, but it's a nice conclusion, isn't it? Yeah.
Most people, that's a lovely story. I mean, a lot of people have experiences and they have smells and and sounds that they can usually associate with. It's usually perfume and things like that, or the smell of tobacco, and it's always something that reminds them of somebody that they once knew, or the grandparents, or an ex-partner, or something like that. And sometimes we can smell or experience things that we want to, I suppose. But it's a lovely story, that.
Is that your last one?
That's my last one.
Right, okay, well, just to acknowledge that we have a few people that have joined us since you started the observations. As I said, Jo Alton was there and she was input into your stories. And also Reiki Debs and Lee are there, so it's nice to see you back again. And Aggie as well, she's returned to us. Now, I just want to let you know, if you're thinking what the hell's going on, it was put on our KTPF page. Ryan Goodin, unfortunately, pulled out at 4 o'clock this evening, or this afternoon, because he had a family problem. So we will be rescheduling. So Chris here, our good friend, although he was scheduled to come in on the 23rd, he dropped sticks and came down and pulled us out of the proverbial. So, so we'll be talking to him in a moment.
Talking about Ryan, I just picked up on an email. I don't know whether you picked it up. It came in at 7:30. Hi, Suzanne. So sorry, but really appreciate your understanding. He doesn't cancel things lightly, but he had absolutely no option of this course. We need to see how the next few days go, and then plan a date. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, I did actually reply to him, so that's not a problem. So if you are looking forward to having a reading with Ryan when he does come on the show again, I know Andy 707 has earmarked a reading from him. So if anybody else is, then please contact us at admin@ktpf.co.uk and we'll try and get a reading for you. We also got Alison Winrider coming on sometime, so she may give you a reading as well. We're going to take a quick break and listen to a word from our sponsors, and after the break we'll be coming back to speak to Chris Andrews from Club Zero and finding out more about his group and also his Paranormal Com. So you'll find out more about that. Speak to you in a moment.
The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store is a one-stop shop for all of your ghost hunting gadgetry needs. Run by ghost hunters for ghost hunters, the shop is filled with all of the latest in investigation equipment, shipped in from all around the world, from high-quality digital dictaphones to EMF pumps, infrared illuminators to laser grid pens, CCTV equipment to data loggers. All of our equipment has already been imported, so you can buy it safe in the knowledge that there will be no hidden costs. And with our postage promise, you'll never pay more than the actual postage price. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. And as I said to you, we have not got Ryan good in tonight, but we do have our old friend Chris Andrews from Club Zero.
Hi, Sue.
Hiya, and he's brought along with us his young lady, Emma.
Hi.
Hi. So, okay, so as I say, tonight we're going to talk about Chris and his group, and also what he's started up, or rather picked up again, I suppose is the best word for it, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it's kind of like an old project relaunching.
So basically, Chris, how long have you been in this field?
Well, a good number of years, over a decade with Club Zero, but I was doing that before, Paranormal before Club Zero, with a former organisation I was part of, and then obviously I have personal experiences that go beyond that as well, so you got quite a good number of years, a long time, I remember being young. I'm not so young now,
Yeah.
So,
well, we always called him our grandfather, because there was Club Zero, and then there was TP, Townside Paranormal, and we spawned from that. So technically, you're our granddad.
I thought that was to do with the grey in the side of my hair.
So but as I say, it's good, really. It's good when things span out like that, isn't it?
It is good, you manage to keep going, and I mean, in the early days when Club Zero formed, that was you're talking 2003 when that was formed, and in those days there wasn't as many organisations and things around as what there is today, and the venues was different in them days, and I think people's perceptions of things again was different, but in this day and age now everything's changed, but obviously to keep something going for a length of time, like yourselves, I mean, you guys have been going for quite a long time as well, and there is those out there who've been going for a long time, and I think a lot of us as well have managed to experience probably some of the better times of paranormal investigating and doing the good venues in the old days. Like, there used to be a venue called Maze Artro in Wales, and I think that was a biggie for many groups, really. And unfortunately, it's gone now, and there's people out there, new organisations, unfortunately, will never experience these things.
And as Joe said, it's great that we can all work together. So
it is great.
I mean, so many of us out there want to stick to themselves, and they don't want to share anything or anything like that. And that's something that you've encouraged, we've encouraged, and it's what the KTPF's all about. It's actually sharing information and finding things out to move us all forward.
Well, you guys do a cracking job of that with the KTPF.
We try, sir.
We try our best.
You're always putting it out there. But years ago, I mean, obviously, so many groups and organisations, it seemed to be like competition and a lot of red tape. Anywhere that people have been going to conduct investigations, or the findings will probably be kept on a hush-hush scenario, maybe because people was worried that other organisations was going to attend to these things. But the only problem with it is that no information was being pumped out, so nobody was learning from these things, and like you guys now and ourselves and others out there, a collaboration of information. The idea of conducting paranormal research is to try and find genuine answers to things. So there's no point. It's not a roller coaster ride or a competition, is it?
No, not really.
I mean, there is a page on our discussion area on the KTPF where you can actually put investigation reports. And we haven't done it for a while, but we were putting them on. But we were the only ones. Yeah. But the idea is that if you visit the same place as us, and at least if you look through them and we got the same as you did,
it collaborates.
Exactly.
It gives it a little bit more weight to it. You know what I mean?
We have a few on ours on our site. I think we've got more to put up. I think we're guilty of not putting as many up. But yeah, you're right, because other people. I mean, obviously, it's good that they can correspond. If you had somebody from another organisation who could sort of base that on their findings, on your findings, maybe afterwards, but obviously not reading it beforehand in case it sort of gives them a little bit of thought suggestion. But it's a good idea to correspond with findings.
Breaking Dev said, how many teams out there, though, that carry out proper investigations?
Well, that's a good question. That's something I probably want to. That I probably will be speaking to you about shortly when you about this.
And also,
project.
PJ says about invest reports to everyone who does this work.
Invest
Hold on.
report.
I've always said that about invest reports to everyone who does this work.
We always used to give venues investigations.
The most important thing of any part of the invest is getting the information written down.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not many people do
No.
it.
Like
Exactly.
Reiki Dev said, a lot are just there for the fun night out now.
A lot of them is point, I try to, I explain to people when we've done meetings in the past or we've done presentations of some form. You got the different, excuse me, you got your different types of investigative organisations and individuals. You've got your thrill seekers and you've got ghost hunters and then you've got paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
Your thrill seekers will be going in there, they haven't got a clue maybe what's going on, but hey, let's just point and see what happens, and if something comes out, they're going to scream and run off. And you know that before they go in there, they'll express that I know what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to,
Yeah.
and then you've got your ghost hunters who just go in with a point and shoot style, put the camera in front of them and point and shoot and just hope to the best that they've got something on there, and then maybe come away and leave it at that. But your paranormal investigators are somebody obviously that will go in and they'll research the building, the area, the goings on, all that attributes. But then the main investigation for them is when that investigation's over, and then they've come away and they've got all the research, all the footage, all the documentation to go through to try and find linked names and dates and events and try to put the rational side of things. So you have your three sort of steps really, as it were,
Reiki Dev says that's what I've done would do to do a proper investigation. Andy 707 said I always used to write a report of invest, but got bored of writing them. So
there's a good idea for that. I mean, the
way we do it is when we have people on our investigations, they're not writing down all night, but we might say, for instance, if you two were on our investigations on this vigil, you're going to be doing the writing down. On the next vigil, Emma would do it. On the next vigil, somebody else would do it. But they're all getting everything to do. They might be using the dowsing rods or the for part of that vigil, and the table tipping and stuff. Everyone gets joins in with, but there will be somebody there in each vigil, doing the main environmental work, as they call it.
Oh, exactly.
Getting the environmentals in.
Your documentation is the biggest part of everything because you've got nothing to reflect back on if you don't do that. I mean, we use documentation in the form of writing on clipboards. Yeah, of course we do, but we also do it as well because we understand that sometimes it's hard to write everything down in the dark or very minimal light or whatever the documenter has to work with. So we also use voice recorders. So people using the voice recorders not just for the hopes of capturing potential EVP, but obviously that they use it specifically. And then all they need to do, then they can go through with a number of other people. Then it takes the weight off their shoulders, and then it's good that if other people assist with it, somebody might hear something or that somebody else has already missed, or they can collaborate with it. So then they can tackle the main sections that's really needed, and you've got it there. Without having to worry too much.
Well, we have Tigger, who's in the chat room somewhere. He always takes the EVP machines home, doesn't he? And checks all through that, the footage, and checks all through that.
For hours gone through.
Yeah, and
painstaking process.
It is very painstaking.
I mean,
because not a lot of people do record on their investigations either, do they?
No, they don't.
Some of these groups.
I mean, I must admit, of late we have got a little bit lax with the
recording.
Well, not so much the recording, but the paperwork, because we haven't had the actual sheets that we do, the temperature and stuff like that, because we don't get our guests to do that. We get them to take the temperatures, but we have them writing down everything that happens on that particular vigil, whether anybody's picking up, how people are feeling. That releases us to actually do the proper temperatures and actually run that vigil. When you give them a pen and paper, they go, oh, I'm going to say, you explain to them that is the most important part of the whole vigil. It doesn't matter what else you do or what else happens, you have to get it down on paper.
No, exactly. I mean, if people want to get into this into this field of study, paranormal research, that is the investigation is doing that type of thing. Anybody can go in and take it with a camera. A youngster, a teenager can go in a building or visit local cemeteries with a camera. They live in hope, but not everybody's got the ability to conduct the right documentation, and that itself is the actual investigation, because you've got more evidence, more stories uncovered, and more information in your your collected data than what you're actually probably going to experience.
A lot of people come in these investigations because they've seen the programs and all this, which is fair enough. But we sell out our events because we say we're giving them an insight into paranormal investigating, and we normally say to them, they've got the best bit, we've got to go home and do the boring bit and look at all the pictures, and the footage and everything. But we've always promised our guests that they will go away at least having a crash course in paranormal investigating. Anything else is a bonus, if they,
Definitely.
and most of the time it's a personal thing they get. They may be touched, or they may have heard something, and that is good,
It's very good.
And that's the way we like to do it, isn't it?
It is. I mean, going back to these reports, the hardest thing when you look reading them back is trying to put it in a timeline or a story to make it work. Yeah. Because you get, Emma got touched on the head. Chris felt his bum getting pinched. This happened
Again.
at that time.
Again.
Where's it fit?
Yeah.
Instead of just a list of what happened and what everything else. I mean, half the time you don't even have a time.
No.
Which is a good reason to record each one as you're going. But it just means a hell of a lot of work afterwards for somebody.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you can unravel a whole pattern.
Oh, yeah.
You can unravel a whole story, and like you just said there, Steve, someone's bum was touched or someone touched on the head, and you don't have the time frames. One could have happened. It could have happened simultaneously with each other in a specific room, so it might give evidence towards maybe some form of force in that room, or it could have happened hours apart in different rooms. And then it's and then you're not too sure. No. So it's
all you know is it happened at that particular vigil.
Yeah.
And which is great if that vigil's in one room, but if you've got several rooms to do in that vigil, where was it? And it's getting people to check the timeline on it. And that's not so easy to do.
If someone reports being touched, or they've had an experience, you'd need the surroundings running up to that, to that event themselves. Where was they? What was they doing? Who was with them at the time? Was they wearing certain clothing that they might have caught on the side? What was in the room as a way of fittings, furnitures, fixtures, and all that type of thing. So you need to create a mental picture when a person says they've had an experience, and most people do report having some form of experience, but then it's usually, I'm feeling being touched, and then most people will probably go, oh right, okay, and then they move on and leave it at that, and I've seen that happen so many times. But where you need to draw, each person needs to draw an individual picture of that account and try and put an answer to the structure that they're creating.
Yeah, Andy's made a good point there. He said he used to record the entire investigation on mini discs. They're time coded, and they're very good sound. So you've actually got a time to see what. Yeah.
Joe has mentioned that they have logs to monitor changes to conditions such as weather, EMF ions, etc. As the change of atmosphere can cause some occurrences depending on these fluctuations. Reiki Debs has said she would prefer to do this kind of investigation than watching somebody pushing a table around a room all night.
Well, Joe,
that's something else that happens quite often, unfortunately.
Joe's a member of Club Zero team. She's right when she was saying about the logs. And I mean, what we do now, we go into every single room we go into before we go in, especially if we're doing home visits now. We have different logs set in different rooms, and every different investigators that go in that room. It's paramount that every time they walk in or they visit that room on a regular cycle, i.e. 15-20 minute cycle, and the baselines are carrying on all the time, so the temperature variations, the surrounding outside, the ions in the air, anything that, because obviously we know the temperatures drop as the night goes on, vehicles or external sounds can create different things, houses start to creak, so we're constantly monitoring each room. And every person that goes in and they conduct these baseline tests, they have to sign and they have to write as well. There are reasons that they believe why the ambience has changed in that room.
I mean, there's something that we do that a lot of people tend to forget, and it's easy to do. When we put a recorder in a room and leave it there, every time you go in that room, you should say, Steve, so and so, what time it is. So it clocks on the recorder. And also when you're listening it back, you know there's somebody in there
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
I mean, when we first started doing it, we'd listen to it and we go, "Hey, there's somebody in there," and then somebody would speak and we go, "Oh, it's so and so." But
Yeah.
if they do that as they walk in, then you know they're there, and you can
This is
ignore
it.
a lot of what's there because
That's the
you're
thing, isn't
listening
it?
for other stuff.
It causes unknown sounds on there, and
It
then,
does.
I mean, then that ruins it because it could be potential EVP, but the chances are, you might hear somebody breathing or somebody rustling as they're just walking through. So always, if you go, you're exactly right. If you're going to go in a room at any time, I mean, even if you're unaware that there's a voice recorder or anything if you're going in the room, I would just probably shout out, "It's Chris, the time is such and such a time. I'm just walking in, I'm just leaving," just in case there is a voice recorder in there. And if there isn't a voice recorder in there, then you're talking to yourself. But at least you know.
But you do that all the time anyway.
I'm always talking to myself. It's when I start answering myself back that's the problem.
When we're talking about private ones, we'll come on to that later because this ParaCom is really what this is all about. But there is a different criteria, isn't there, with paranormal, private paranormal in this. Reiki Debs is asking if you do a private investigation when someone claims to have a haunting, etc. Do you ask them questions regarding their health and lifestyle, if they have any mental health problems, intake of alcohol, etc.? Yes, we do.
Everything,
is the answer, and we really go into detail.
We have a small book, don't we?
Yeah, we literally have a questionnaire, and you have to, because some of the medical stuff they're on can give them hallucinations.
Exactly. I mean,
and you've got to look at it that way.
I always apologise beforehand in case they find it offensive, but I explain to them beforehand that the reasons behind it and why, and that the information that they're going to give is kept confidential because they're personal details. And what we do as well, we record these people while we're interviewing them. So, and the reason why we do that on video, because we watch for body language at the same time. Because some people, unfortunately, might make things up, and other people believe that they're experiencing things when they're not. So, you can tell by looking at people when they're, with their eyes, if they're accessing the creative and their imagination side, or if they're accessing the actual part where they're reflecting on memories and things like that. So, it's all part of it. It's like a crime scene investigation. You've got to eliminate.
There's been many places, well, not many, but there's been one or two places where we've actually been asked to do a private investigation, and they've got people in. Oh, do you mind if they're here while you're doing it? And you think, well,
why?
Why? And all this, that, and the other, and it's just, like a free for all.
Because it's a show. That's what it is. These people don't realise what that. To me, I mean, that's happened to us on so many occasions. And then straight away, to me, that takes the credibility away from the story.
It does.
Oh, look at us! We got the ghost hunters, as you get called. We got the ghost hunters in, and we got all these people watching. And you think, what's going on? It's not a show. You either want us in to do something because you genuinely believe that there's something going on, or you're just trying to get a name for yourself with your friends and neighbours.
Or you want to move house.
That's majority of it.
There's been a lot of things.
There's a couple of things on the chat room here. PJ says that you also look for films and books that they may have read that can do that. And Andy707 says the eye movement analysis doesn't always work.
No,
it doesn't always work. But I mean, when you're used to, deal. I mean, I'm a trained security operative as well, anyway. But I mean, not everybody is. But people should be more aware of, if they're going to be doing paranormal investigations, it's all part of observation studies anyway. So being able to observe, a good acute knowledge of observation, and after a length of time of interviewing people, you get to know the body language and you get to know the signs, and when somebody, or you should do after a length of time, when somebody's fabricating. And what I also like to do as well is I'll ask people a series of questions, and they'll be documented in the way of their answers, and then later on I'll give them the same questions again in a different format. Where these people are unaware that they've already been asked that question, and then I'll compare the original answers to the secondary answers and see if it's been changed along the line, and it has been at some stage, So I mean, you've got to do. I mean, sometimes they might find it offensive that you do that, but I'd rather do that and get the truth than stand there and say yes, it is this.
Now this is all to do with what we're going to be talking about in a bit, isn't it?
Can I just say that Andy said that just because we have books on ghosts, does that mean we write them off? The answer to that is no.
No.
But we do take it into account, because along with other things that we find out about the particular people, with all the other questions we do, it gives us an idea of their mindset.
Yes.
Also, that they could have been watching that film the night before, and a little bit's left in the mind from the night before. they're reading the book before they go to sleep, and you can have these things and they retain as memories, and sometimes they can, I've not watched that for about 4 months, but you still got the memory.
One
still held
person we
inside.
went to, she actually felt as though something was crawling up the side of the bed,
Right.
on the bed towards her.
Wow.
She thought it was her dog, but it wasn't the dog, but it was somebody. Actually, she could feel somebody on the side of the bed
Right.
crawling up towards her.
Yeah, I remember a film a long time ago like that.
Yeah,
Can't remember what it was called, mind you. But
so it may have been just something that was left over.
It's possible. I mean, there's a film called The Haunting with Catherine Zeta-Jones and
that's a
Liam
good film,
Neeson. It's a cracking film. It really is a cracking film. But you get that type of, you got the children in the film who, obviously, Hugh Crane. I don't know if any of you guys out there watch it, but it's a good film.
Yeah, it's a remake from the House.
It is, yeah.
Isn't it?
But they're sort of clambering onto the bed and things like that. And there's so many films like that. And people will always they'll always watch a film and they'll always find maybe, it was a good film or it was a rubbish film, but they'll always find one element of that film that they find that they're more attached to. Oh, that was a bit more freaky, and then forget about it. The other night I watched The Conjuring. I watched that film and I thought the general film was a really good film. It wasn't all as hyped up as what it meant to be. I did find at the beginning that the music was quite eerie, and that sort of thought, ooh, crikey.
This is it.
So now I might be going into an investigative venue and I'll hear something, that music might come back into my head, and that's what'll do it for me. So it's
if anyone's ever seen The Haunting, it was a remake of The House on Haunted Hill. It was originally
with
a black and white film.
Yeah, with Roddy McDowall.
Yes, so but as I say, well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. I'm going to do the paranormal events, and Chris is going to have a bit of a break as well, because he said to me earlier you were gagging.
Yep, it's gone down past my knees now and everything level.
So I'm going to give him a bit of a breather, and I'll do the paranormal events. So okay. So if you want to go off, then young man. Okay. It don't be long. I don't know. Men, they're smoking. Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. And first off the rank, we've got the 13th of February, the Psychic Supper at Leicester at Molly O'Grady's, which is being run by paranormaluk.co.uk. On the 15th of February, Victoria House Bridlington, fromtheotherside.org.uk has booked this event, and the house has been linked with a convicted murderer, a suicide, and then there is room 14. Okay. On the 15th of February, UK Shadow Seekers are off to the Museum of Transport in Manchester. And on the 22nd of February, paranormali.co.uk are off to the Galleries of Justice. Also on the 22nd of February, Valentine's Mansion in Ilford. Over the years, there has been many reports of ghostly goings-on at Valentine's Mansion, including a watchful woman, the footsteps to nowhere, and the workman's assistant. And for one night, you can try your chance and experience these things for yourself. And that's with the-pigs.co.uk. On the 27th of February, we're back at Molly O'Grady's for another psychic night with paranormaluk.co.uk. And also, the events that are coming up in March, just to let you know, if you're in Ireland at all, there's the All Ireland ParaCom 2014. This is a unique first of a kind event to ever be held in Northern Ireland. It is the product of many discussions between two voluntary investigative teams here called IPI and Spirit. And the event is open to all, and we feel that we have a good broad range of speakers that will suit everyone, from those in established teams to skeptics, debunkers, believers, and those that just have a general interest in all things paranormal. The guest speakers they've got is Barry Fitzgerald, talking about fairy lore, Dr. Andrew Snedden, witchcraft in Ireland, Gary Heseltine on ufology, Stephen Mullan on analysing your evidence, Simon McCready, psychic medium, and David Kiley, author of Exorcisms in Ireland. You can find out more at www.allislandparacon.com. And back in England, if you would like to see two well-known psychics, you can have an evening of mediumship with medium Tony Stockwell, demonstrating his beliefs that those who have passed can communicate with their loved ones. Okay, the TV Street Psychic, Psychic Private Eyes, and Psychic Academy gives proof beyond doubt of the afterlife, all delivered with emotion, sensitivity, and empathy. You can find out more about where he's performing at www.tonystockwell.com and click events. And our other very famous medium, Mr. Derek Acora, has his 2014 Enlightenment Tour, and you can find out more about where he's appearing by checking out www.derekacora.com. And that's the events for now.
So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events available now. ParanormalEventsForYou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. ParanormalEventsForYou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory.
Yeah, that's the events. And don't forget, if you are part of a paranormal group, you can go to ParanormalEventsForYou.com and put your events on there. But remember, please don't put the price of your events, just your URL, your website address. That'll be great. And then people can click on that and find out more about it.
Yes, you may have noticed that Chris is not back with us yet. He's just had to run up to the little boy's room. He'll be with us shortly.
Yeah. So, but as I say, we will be talking more to Chris in a moment about his organisation that he's working back on.
Yes.
So, we'll be talking more about the difference as well between private events and also public events.
Part of what he's trying to do runs along the lines of what Kevin was talking about last week.
Yes,
came
it does
on.
actually. Or the other week.
The other week, yeah.
Yeah, when she was talking about.
I mean, Kerry's on about the people doing house investigations and basically going in and telling people a lot of twaddle.
Yeah, so we're going to find out more about that from Chris. What's been talked about here? Let's have a look. Not that I know, but there was Stephen King done one called Rose Red. That was a good film. So I think we've got that somewhere.
It wasn't a bad series as well. They put it into a series, didn't they, on TV?
So, and what's this one? I don't think what it was.
Yeah, we were talking about the House on Haunted Hill.
He's back.
Here he be.
He's back. So, put his mic up, ready? So, we've locked Roxy out because she was giving us grief. I didn't want you picking it up on the recording. So she was being, look at me. That's what she was doing, wasn't she, Steve?
Yes.
Right, okay. Feel a bit better now, Chris?
Miles better, thanks.
I don't know. Well, welcome back.
Thank
you. Chris is there from SASPI. I have to leave you guys. Have fun. I'll speak to you soon. I didn't even know you were there. See you next week.
I think he's just been listening.
Right, okay.
See you next week, Chris.
We're talking to Chris Andrews from Club Zero in Stockport. He's been graciously stepped in for us because Ryan Gooding unfortunately had to tend to a family matter, and it's not something he normally does, and he's promised to get back to us as soon as possible.
That's cancelling. He doesn't usually cancel.
That's what I mean. Doesn't usually cancel.
Just the way you said it.
All right, sorry.
It sounded like he doesn't usually attend to family matters.
So
and Chris just said he's been listening while decorating.
Oh, that's good. So we don't mind what you're doing while you're decorating, or while you're listening, as long as you're listening. Isn't that right, Chris?
That's true. Multitasking, that's good.
Yeah, this is it. Right, so we're back with you, Chris, and Emma, obviously. and we're going to talk about ParaCom.
ParaCom.
What was this all about years
Do
ago,
tell,
and
do
why
tell.
are you bringing it back?
Well, ParaCom, it stands for Paranormal Community Watchdog, as it was. A few years back, created it because we found that many venues was charging ridiculous prices.
Yeah.
And that was down to, most of it, we found that was down to, you'd have certain organisations that would be going to venues and they were getting it at low prices and then putting them out on eBay for £100 a seat and things like that.
Are we talking about companies?
Yeah, companies.
Of course,
most companies.
originally most of the investigations were actually companies, weren't they?
Yeah. Especially back then, a good few years back, and there was a venue that we once went to, and we got that. It was really, really cheap. And the next time, and we was talking under £100 for the venue, and the next time we went, they wanted £700.
Is that a place in Chester? By
it is in Chester. Yeah, it is Chester. It's a good venue. We were the first ones ever to go in there, and we said this, and they said, "Well, you can have it for 200." So they dropped it for 200, and I thought, well, no. And the reason why is because they said that they found tickets for £99 each.
Yes.
So what we thought at the time was that so many groups and organisations, it was unfair to them if they couldn't afford and having to pay stupid amounts of money to go in properties and buildings. And it gives these groups experience to be going in these places in the first place and help them to collect, data. So, ParaCom was formed. It was for that originally. And what we do is you'd have an affiliation of organisations who would sort of join together, and they all displayed the ParaCom logo on their website. And what we do, we try and target the venues and try to get them to lower the prices. And obviously, if they didn't lower the prices to a respectable price where everyday investigation organisations could access, then the venue might be boycotted, and then obviously these venues would probably lose revenue on that level, because greed speaks for itself. By cutting out a smaller person, we did that. And we'd write to these venues with the affiliated organisations, and we try, more like a petition of sorts or something.
Yeah.
And it was all right. It went all right for a bit, and then unfortunately, I think there was some organisations out there that started looking at ParaCom as a bit of an elitist. They thought we were kind of elitist, and that wasn't the idea behind it. The idea was to try and give everybody a fair stab at everything.
Yeah.
So I think after a while, and a lot of work that went into it, they sort of put it on the back burner, and then it just ceased to be, and sort of just fizzled away, really, I suppose. But it's always been there in the back of the mind. But so the idea now is to try and reconstruct it and bring it back. I mean, obviously it is coming back. It is going to be relaunched, but it's not. It's only in the early construction days.
Yeah.
But it won't just be for things like that anymore, because times have changed on. And I think one of the final straws for it, and it's not just myself and the organisation I'm associated with, it's also people like you guys and other organisations out there across the whole community, paranormal community. It affects everybody. Is when you get a call to do. I suppose it's more based on private investigations in the home and safeguarding the general public from their awareness. Because we found that we've been called to certain venues to help clear up alleged paranormal matters and stuff like that, and found that they've had other organisations have gone in and told them, they've looked at the videos or they've looked at whatever that they've got, and they've told them straight away, it's an evil entity, or you've got this, or there's this, that, and the other. And we found that it's left these persons, wherever we go with, can create an unstable reaction in the mind to people. It creates fear unnecessarily. Now, when someone goes into a building or into a house and they see a video or something moving, and someone will turn around to them in experience and say it's a dark entity or it's a negative, it's a demon, which has happened.
Oh yeah.
There's no evidential credibility to back that up at all. So these people, when somebody gets people in to conduct an investigation, they're getting them in to help them with the peace of mind. If these people are being genuine in the first place, it gives them peace of mind. And so they believe that the people that they've got in are the expert, even though there's no genuine experts in the field of paranormal, but there is experts in way of conducting professionally and delivering the correct information. So they believe that what they're told is true, and they get that into the head. And when we have to go in and we try to, unravel the damage that has been done, and look at everything and try to put over rational and natural explanations that we can explain, because 90% or maybe a bigger higher, 95% can be explained in a rational formation, where these people straight away they've been told it's evil, it's demonic, it's this, that, and the other. They believe it, and then they're starting to create their own fears from this, and fears spread, and it'll get bigger and gets bigger and gets bigger, and then their state of mind comes into play.
Yeah.
And then they don't want to listen to anything else because you can't get through to them on it. So then this is where it's a misinformation leading to the public, and you have organisations out there who've been going for years, and you might have organisations out there who haven't been going that long, but they've got an acute awareness of how to conduct things.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is, and it's an affiliation of gaining organisations together who have got a credibility, and a genuine aspect of getting the correct information given over to protect and safeguard these people. In that level. I mean, the idea behind this is, if it's a paranormal attribute that we're all looking for, then we have to do it in the correct manner. We can't go around scaring people and then having to have other organisations try and clear up the messes. So it's an affiliation of getting groups together from all over the place, where they'd all be an affiliation of a ParaCom, and in their locations, in their own communities, they would be responsible for trying to help safeguard the public by help delivering the correct information, maybe trying to unravel some of the damage maybe that other organisations less inexperienced might have caused. But not also just for the bad things, but also to maybe these less inexperienced organisations might be able to contact and get a bit more of an insight from any organisation that's linked, say, with ParaCom.
Right.
And they might be able to get a bit more development and understanding
now,
of such.
Can we go back a bit? You're talking about the venues. Now, the question's been asked whether you think it's right that groups should have their own exclusivity. It's like Reiki Dev says, how do they keep them for themselves? Surely that's down to the venue if they get asked by another group, or are you saying that some companies pay for exclusivity? There's quite a few companies out there that have got exclusivity on venues, haven't they?
This is where the big prices can come in on that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of groups have had exclusive rights maybe to venues or hosting venues as such, and then where other organisations no longer book through the venue themselves, they book through the actual organisation. And then obviously some of these organisations might add their own price on top of that, because usually you'll find that a member or a couple of members from that organisation have to stay behind, and then you're under their guiding rules of how things are to be done, which is fair enough if that's the wishes of the establishment.
Yeah,
but
I must admit I have phoned a few people up and asked them about doing events, and when they say they've got exclusivity, they would turn around and say that they've got a group in at the moment and they only want one because they don't want to do it all the time and all this, that and the other, and they want to leave it at that for now. Or they'll say they've got a thing with one team, we may change it next year, we'll keep you on the books and things like that. So, sometimes they are a bit fairer, but
it can pose a problem as well sometimes. I've been to investigative venues in the past where they've had exclusive organisations that have had hosting there, and then these organisations have conducted things in the wrong manner and they've lost it, but that's left the venue with a mistrust of paranormal organisations, and they'll not, you no longer incorporate. Well, we had a bad experience with a paranormal group, and you seem to get a lot of that these days. Bad experiences with paranormal groups, and because that happens, which is another affiliation on the ParaCom side of things. Because that happens, it puts all those genuine ones who want to do things for the right reasons in jeopardy.
We have
they can't go to things.
Personally, we've lost a couple, haven't we?
That we've known because of things that
other
happened.
People's stupidity, for want of a better word.
Well, exactly. There's people out there who might have been going for 2 minutes, but they've got a good knowledge of things, and it's not hard, really. I mean, like I said before, anybody can go in and point a camera and shoot. The difference is if you're going to go into a home or a private home, you're in that person's home, and the first protocol for me, that's what I was always do, is initiating, giving them a peace of mind. They need to feel safe in their own environment. There's no, I'm sleeping downstairs, I won't go to bed because what's going on in my room, and I've been told that I've got a big black shape in the room.
Right, now we're coming to private investigation. Private investigation. He's wrecking the place now.
I've been here 2 minutes.
We're talking about private investigations now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right, now this is a different criteria, is it? With public ones, obviously it's different. That we book the venue, then we get the guests to come on and this, that, and the other, and we go out and do the investigation, and incorporate the guests. Now with a private one, now I assume you do it similar to what we do. We get the phone call. Yeah, so I'm going to take you through step by step how things would be done, okay? And you can tell us how it goes. So you've got a phone call. Right. We think we've got a problem. We think we're haunted. What is the first thing you say to them on this account?
For me, I'd want to know, what makes them think that, why would you think that you're haunted? What type, where would the idea that you're actually haunted? Is it your home? Is it yourself personally? What chain of events are leading you to believe, that you're haunted? I mean, obviously, if we're going to do a car visitation to someone's house, we have to warrant the fact as well. We'll do a preliminary beforehand to see if that would warrant further investigation, because obviously you can save a lot of time and effort by finding out when somebody might believe that they've got a haunting as such. But
do you ask them to do a diary?
We always ask them, keep a log. We ask them to write a log. Anything that ever happens to them, the time of day, doesn't matter how small, how trivial. If anybody else has witnessed it, then that's even better. But it's also something that they can reflect on too. What we try to do, the first protocol, is before we actually go in, we try to give them advice over the phone or via email or however they've contacted us, because sometimes a lot of occurrences or alleged occurrences can be rectified, identified, and even sorted out without having to go and visit the people. Yes. And sometimes that can develop by the information that you've received, the experiences that they've encountered, how they look at these things. And by giving these people a more unique insight approach, rather than looking at it in a one-term aspect, because they've seen television programs or they've been told this or the other, that's how these things are. Give them more information that's more open and allows their brain and mind to be more open to different scenarios. And then you put things, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. They'll suddenly find that this piece will actually slot into this jigsaw puzzle, and it makes sense to them. Once that makes sense to them, they start to unravel, and they can, unravel the events that's going on, and they can put answers to it, And we've done that so many times, and people have, they come back to us and say, well, I feel so much better. So, there's people out there might listen to what I'm saying and think, no, that's a load of twaddle, so, but it's proven,
on the preliminary, I was going to bring that in later, but don't matter. It's okay.
Well, it's hard to determine really, because a lot of people would think if you mention the paranormal, they automatically think it's about ghosts, spirits, and things like that. And the paranormal isn't just really all about ghosts and spirits. Obviously, we all know the word paranormal is above normal. So it's anything that's out of our normality range. So you do get a lot of aspects. Anything that we can't identify, you would probably, rationally identify, you might deem to be on a paranormal status. That doesn't mean to say it's ghostly encounters. That just means to say that it's above our normal aspects of, of things. So my opinion is it's not as high as what we'd like it to be. I don't think it's, if you've got 100 venues there all reporting that they're all paranormally active, I'd say it was a very, very low estimate that something might be going in there. You've got venues that advertise themselves as haunted because they want money. People want to move house. People think they're seeing things. People take medications. People are influenced with television. So all these factors, I think it's a small minority really of genuine, hauntings. But I do think it's a large majority of people who believe that they're experiencing. So it's a sort of catch-22 really.
A lot of the time people are actually, like I say, have a mindset. We went to one lady and she swore blind that her cat kept going into this cupboard, wasn't her cat, and it wouldn't go to anybody. And I pulled the curtain back and I saw the cat there, and she goes, "That's not my cat." And she carefully will attack you, and I just bent down, picked this cat up in my arms. She went, "He doesn't do that." It's like, and it got her thinking that at least part of what she had in her head was wrong. It turned out, from our point of view, that she was actually a bit sensitive herself, but she was trying to block it all the time.
Yeah.
And
you build up a thing.
I'll tell you what it
it's
is.
a build-up effect, isn't it?
What actually happened
you
there?
yourself are not psychic. You quite admit that. But when you starts coming through, it can be very difficult to work out what's real and what's not.
What actually happened there was she'd been playing over the local graveyard with friends and doing a bit of a most haunted thing, and she swore blind she brought something back with her.
Well, you always find that most people admit to doing the Ouija board and things like that, and we always ask them that, and that type of thing. Even though it might not be proven that a Ouija board has caused them problems, but the idea behind it can scare them.
As I say, going back to this private investigation, so we've told them to do a diary, okay, and we're going in for the preliminary. Is that your preliminary?
Well, no, that's not. Your preliminaries when you actually go and make your first visitation
and meet them and talk to them
in the house. Yeah,
okay.
I always like to do it on their grounds because it's their comfort zone.
Yeah,
it's their home, it's their comfort zone. So obviously, we have to. It's imperative, not just us, but everybody else that treats their home and treats the people with the respect that they'd expect if someone came into their home. It's everybody has a moral obligation to uphold, a level of standard and professionalism. There's people's. You don't know. I mean, if there's a woman there on her own, she might be frightened. If you're a bloke, a guy on your own, there's everything has to be taken into account. Yeah. Do they have children? Are you going to be leaving these children frightened? And that if the little children see the mother or the father upset, it's going to have major drastic effects on them as well. So if somebody's going to undertake a private house investigation, they need to, exercise that with extreme caution. They need to. This is what I'd say anyway. Exercise it with extreme caution, and don't bother going in there unless they've got some information that's going to be credible or useful to that person.
So we're looking at a case which would start with the telephone call, and we're looking at least 2 to 3 weeks before you actually go in for the first visit. Yeah, and then a week or so after that, if you decide it warrants an investigation, is when you come in with all the paraphernalia.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So, would you, on that first preliminary, do any ground testing? In other words, EMFs, see if there's any cracks in the doors and the windows and all that.
First preliminary, we go in, and it'd be like an investigation to a degree, but it won't be a full blown investigation. No. The preliminary, firstly, would be there to establish, the energy of the people that you're actually dealing with, and not the paranormal in sense of the, paranormal occurrences. Them are you're going in there for that aspect, but them are the ones that you've got to put on the back of the shelf at the time, because you have to deal with what you know is real beforehand. So by going in, your preliminary, we'd set up a video camera, and we'd ask permission. Everything we do, we'd always ask permission. Set up a video camera to record the person, what's going on, but it's also to record their body language as well, on that aspect, which gives us a better area. There's all sorts of questions, and as I said before, we ask questions, and then we'll deliver the same questions in a different way to see if we get the answers. All the baselines are conducted. The outside structure of the property is conducted. We find out, or we try to find out, who lived there prior, what the building used to be. To a point, we might speak with neighbours if we've got providing the person doesn't mind that we're speaking to neighbours. So we do all that, and then some. We try to mass an accumulation of information beforehand, and then we can decide there. Well, okay, fair enough. There's some elements here we can give you peace of mind with by wiping them off the slate for you. Yeah. But there are other elements here that we can't quite put our fingers on at the moment. So and then obviously these people, ringing you back as well, because a lot of this, which is another important factor, a lot of people go in, do a house investigation, leave the person with the information, and never go back to follow it up.
No,
and they're still there worried, so they have to seek advice.
We've
elsewhere.
always put them at least 6 months. You know, we check on them in 6 months' time unless they need to get hold of us, and then we give them an extra 6 months. You know,
it's horrendous. Some of the stories.
Oh yeah.
You know, some of the groups go in and some of the stories I've been given, and told over time, over a period of time. And it's not just like any group in particular, but it's a variety of different, just individuals as well.
And it's got to be in discretion.
Indeed.
Don't turn up mob-handed sort of thing, because it looks like you're encroaching on them. But we've been on a couple, haven't we? Where we had one that we went on, and
if it's the one I think the worst one, it was actually a medium that told this woman.
Yeah, she
called a medium in for help.
Yeah. And
you think the people will do that, and it's no disrespect to mediums at all.
No.
To me, me personally, and it's only my own personal belief. I base everything I do on a scientific aspect. We obviously we know that psychic abilities, seem to happen with a lot of people, and a lot of people put more faith into the psychic
side. But you've got to have the science there, haven't you?
You have to have the science there.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier if you was stood in a room with, let's say, electromagnetic field meter or something like, or a K2 meter or something on that line, and a temperature gun.
Yeah.
And then you have a medium there, and again, no disrespect to any mediums, and they're saying, well. And the lady would turn around and say, well, my dog's going a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Now, actually, this has happened. This has actually happened, so I'll take this as a scenario or something that actually happened to us. Excuse me. My dog's going a bit crazy there. In between this wall and that wall where the bottom of the stairs are. It doesn't do it anywhere else. It's just spinning around, chasing its tail all the time. It's going a bit mad, and some medium would proclaim that there was a spirit entity there, or I'm getting a little girl, or I'm getting whoever they may be.
Yeah.
Which is good. So, sometimes I'm going to be a medium's worst nightmare, and it's not on a personal level. It's just that I need to get answers.
Oh yeah.
But it's all done in good faith, So I can't give that over to the person who's saying that their dog's spinning around as concrete evidence to say, well, because this person has said that exists, that's happening, we have to take that as face value. We found out through using baseline techniques, obviously, that in between that area was the core for the central heating in the house, and because it was in a confined area, it was the power, the EMFs being emitted from there. In that area, the dogs and animals are more perceptive than what we are, and it was causing a little bit of scramblation to the animal's brain, to its mind. It's got a little bit doolally. You take it out of that area, and it was fine everywhere else. So to us, it was more scientific to say, well, your central heating core system is directly behind this wall, which is coincidence why the animal would do that in the first place. And although a medium might have proclaimed that there was an entity there in good faith, I would more rather, believe that we had the answer there because we could prove it.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, trying to prove things and not putting over information that people are scared of, but we can't prove,
Yeah, this is it. I'm going to change my battery in a second. So Emma, what do you think of this sort of investigation? Do you prefer that to public ones?
Private ones?
Yeah.
I think but I enjoy both, to be honest. But I do. The thing with private ones, at least you feel like you're doing some good there, because a lot of these people are actually scared to be in their own homes. A lot of these cases have created their own ghost out of their own fears and bumps in the night, and you can go in there and say, you know what, there's this that's causing this, and you've got a draft, that floorboard over there that makes the door open, and you can sort of rule out all these strange occurrences as being rational, and give them a bit of peace of mind. Whereas, you go to a public investigation in the venue, you're handing your money over. Yeah, it's a good night, and you have fun, and hopefully you come home with, EVP, some photographs. But I think with private investigations, you're actually, in a way, making a bit of a difference. I'm not being kind of big-headed here, like, paranormal groups are saving the world, but at least we're kind of giving people peace of mind. you know.
Yeah, and you've also got to have an understanding with them, haven't you? These people really feel as though they're getting this sort of thing, you know what I mean? So you can't just go in and say you're making it up or whatever. You've got to be really understanding with it, because they are frightened.
Some people actually really believe. I mean, that, even if they wasn't experiencing anything on a paranormal level, these people or some people actually really believe that they are experiencing things. So therefore, to them, it's very, very real. So they, there's nothing can change that. It's very, very real. So therefore, it's a real event that you know. So you have to look at your investigative techniques in a different way, and rather than just going and say, well, look, we can't find anything here. There's nothing here. We've got no evidence to back anything up. See you later. Goodbye. These people are still left there. They haven't got the answers that they was hoping for. And even though there's nothing documented to say that nothing's going on, you have to have another approach by trying to identifying what that person might be going through. I mean, and that might be by way of finding if they're on medication or if they've got a mental disability, instability within the mind, and then you've got to try and ease that down. You've got to try and coax them down and give them peace of mind. You've got to leave that area with them having a sense of security back in their own home before you even attempt to go in. That's what I.
Steve?
Yeah. Along the same lines, would you ever give somebody a sugar pill, so to speak?
Would I ever give anybody a sugar pill, so to speak?
Yeah.
A placebo.
Yeah, a placebo.
I mean, like the candle and doing a bit of candle magic and to convince them that what's happening is being sorted and see where that goes.
We've done it. Yeah, we've done it. We've done it to a degree where we've had to take one client once who was adamant that what they was encountering was the work of some evil forces of some form.
I've been warned by Andy 707 to be careful. You need to be very sensitive.
Oh, you've got to be very, very. You have to be sensitive.
You have to.
See, that's a word. That's a fantastic approach straight away.
Yeah.
You have to have, sensible, sensitive. Your approach is everything. Your conduct is everything. And more than anything, you're more, in some respects, you cease to become paranormal investigators, but become more support guidance workers for that person. Because if they're believing something, now, like I was just saying a minute ago, somebody thought that they was experiencing something of a demonic nature, and no matter how we tried to put this over, that we didn't believe that they was experiencing that. And some of the story, some of the things that they tell us was quite incredible, and probably would never be proven. So we had to take that, and they wouldn't listen to what we had to say. They wouldn't listen to the rational explanations of things because they had it put in their head. It was this, and the other by other people. So what we had to do, as you were saying about the sugar pill and the placebo effect, was to take their belief in what they was experiencing and turn that from a negative structure into a positive structure, so that what they was experiencing wasn't bad. But what we did, we introduced them to the good inside that, and bit by bit they started to identify the good. Oh, I never thought of that. It actually makes sense. Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that, and all that is by educating them. While you're there, by spending time, being supportive, listening to these people, and educating them. And you can save a lot of trouble by doing that. And they've got that peace of mind and security in their home. And unfortunately, there's loads out there that will just go in and just don't know what they're talking about. All right, that's fine. That's good if they want to do. All respect to them if they want to go hunting around in the graveyards. But if they're dealing with the general public and people who are genuinely crying out for help, they can cause more harm than good because of the state of mind.
Now, we've heard a lot of stories about where we've gone to a place where somebody else has already been, if you understand what I mean, where another group's gone.
Yeah.
And they were either left on their own and basically it's still happening in their opinion, or they've been given some advice, if we take this on, it's going to cost.
So that's a big factor.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I am always in the belief that you don't do that. You don't charge people. We've had people say to us, "Are you going to charge us?" I say, "Why? You're asking for our help."
Yeah, exactly.
And they've said, "Oh, that's all right then," And someone actually said to us, we had one person from a group turn around and say it was a medium. that if you want me to help you further, it's going to cost £30 an hour.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Yeah.
With that, I think if a medium, and again, no disrespect to any,
No.
they'll
I
turn around
don't
and
know
say,
who the group was, so I'll put my hands up to that, or who this so-called medium was, but that's what she told us.
I mean, I understand, and I've had this issue with an argument with people before in the past, and and I understand that mediums and on that type of thing, or tarot readers or whoever, they have to make a living, which is fine, which is fair enough. There's ways of making a living. Me personally, I believe if spiritual energy or entities are there, if they are in existence, then mediums or those who have the ability to pick up from messages, or let's say, are given that free. They're giving that, and that's given to them to pass purposely to whoever. So somebody who says, well, look, I've got this information here for you, but I can't give it you unless you give me £30, and I'm not telling you. To me, then I'd think, no, we'll kick them out the door straight away. That's my view.
Now, Reiki Devs is asking, why don't you charge? And Andy said, doesn't the medium need to make a living too, sort of thing?
The medium does need to make a living, but not at the exploitation of other people.
Not on that respect. They can make it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all right making a living if they're doing a show or they're going to give a reading, blah, blah, blah. But if somebody's actually asking for help,
that's different matter.
And we're not talking about mediums as in, the Derek Akoras of the world and Tony Stockport. We're not talking about them kind of. We're talking about a medium that's with a group.
Someone might come up to you
or whatever,
and you might want to do tarot cards, and what you're going to do and say, well, yeah, all right, it's £5-10 a session for tarot cards. That's fine. You haven't given the information yet, so you haven't been given that information. That person then goes into that contract. That's up to that person and the medium or the tarot reader. That's a contract between themselves if they choose to go ahead and do that. That's all well and good. But if a person goes somewhere specifically with a specific duty to do to help somebody who's in need, and they have information given to them free that is relevant for that person and could help that person, benefit that person's state of mind.
Isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not going to give you that. If you want the rest of it, here's my card. Come down to my circle, and it's £30.
Yeah.
Then to me, if that was in my house, I'd say, well, I tell you what, here's the door. Get out. You didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do, and that's not to be disrespectful.
Deb's on here, and she said since she asked for a plumber for help on Tijara, she sees no difference as long as you're not ripping people off.
Yeah, well, I must admit, there have been times where I've said, no, we don't charge, but if you would like to contribute to the petrol, because if it's not been in the Manchester area,
and you're going quite a way.
We've gone to Wales or
but
something.
There is a difference, though, as you were saying there with the plumber, and not, and they have to come out and do that. There is a difference because the plumber is doing work that's essential, that can be proven and beneficial, where medium, again, it might be providing information, but it's not concrete or proven. It might give that person peace of mind for a period of time because they believe, or people want to believe, I've just got a message back from my uncle Albert or whatever, and they want to believe that, and that's all well and good, but I don't think people should be getting at ridiculous prices, but I do agree too that mediums do need to make a living, and it's a hard one to follow, but if people are in help, we don't charge. People will say to us on the phone, "Oh, how much is it going to cost?" No, it's a public service. We're here to help, and help we're going to do.
If they want to
charge
donate or whatever, then fair enough. But it's not expected, is it?
Some people, if they want to donate, exactly.
I kind of agree with that with Andy. There's a difference between helping with the expenses and making the charge.
Yeah, of course there is.
A question here for you. We've been to places, as you know, and I personally have had the feeling that although we're asking questions and doing what we're supposed to be doing, they're kind of looking at you saying, until you get the equipment out, and then they go,
Yeah,
because they want to see the equipment. They want to see you actually doing something.
Yeah. Well, it looks good. Yeah. They do, because look, all these gadgets and things. Personally, I think you get the best results from the basics.
Yeah.
All these people, they want to run around with all the latest high tech equipment, which is all well and good. But I think some of this equipment actually creates more problems than. We have equipment, of course we do, and but I use as least as possible, and only use certain parts of equipment if it's needed. Because otherwise you can have things. Your camera, let's say you've got an EMF meter and you're taking a photograph, and sometimes your EMF meter will pick up, it'll spike because of the photo of your camera, and we've done that. It's happened. And then your radio, a walkie-talkie can make a K2 flash. Now people use and put the K2 down, and they'll say, if you're there and you do a communication, if you're there, please can you illuminate the lights on the K2 meter? Somebody could be stood just a few meters away, keen on the radio, and it can make it flash.
Reiki Debs has said a mileage fee or paying for your time, £20 or so, is nothing, and I personally would prefer someone charge me that than nothing. I would question anyone who does something for free, but that's her. But then again, some people can't afford this.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, everyone's entitled to their beliefs, and so, I mean, the main thing is what it's not an attack on anybody like that at all, because they're entitled to do what they need to do. And if they go into a contract with somebody who wants that, then that's all well and good, because both sides are happy.
Yeah.
It's what we mean is, if somebody goes in expecting that they're going to get this for free, and then suddenly they're landed with this, whoa, I didn't know, where's this charge come from? Yeah. Then that's different.
If they willingly want to pay, then obviously,
then both parties are happy.
But you don't want to put them in a situation where they've got to pay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
If they contact you and they say, how much do you charge? And we turn around, let's say, I'll give an example. If we got a phone call, say, well, I've got this going on, I've got that going on, but I can't really afford that much. How much you charge? No, we don't charge. We'll come out, we'll do this and the other. We'll come out, we'll help you. We won't leave you. We'll come back until we've got, give you peace of mind. We get there, we do what we need to do, and then we have a medium or a psychic with us, and they'll say, well, I'm picking up on this and the other, and then contact them back after we've finished on the quiet, let's say, on the side, and say, well, look, I've got more information for you, but it's going to cost you. We said, well, no, that's wrong. And it's the same with these. What I'm also against is the psychic hotlines that you see on the TV, and it'll say £30. Just ring this number and you get psychic, and they're going to give you a reading down the phone, But the television ones, I think, no, where's the credibility in that? I just don't see how that can be.
Joe has made a point which I think puts the nail on the head. Actually, it depends on what group you're with. As with yourselves, we're not for profit. As well, and prefer to work that way. But a donation isn't bad for further afield to cover cost only. And Steve's just put on there, but there's a difference between that, Debs, and charging £50 or £60.
Of course, right.
And we was told that one group wanted £80. Norwich Paranormal Society said, but if you're not satisfied with the plumber, you can get a refund. How do you get your money back from a medium if you're not happy with them? So, and
you've got to be aware before you go into it's a verbal contract, isn't it?
And like Andy said, psychic hotlines are purely for making money, which they are. So,
but that's what tarnishes. There are mediums out there, and and like I said before, it's not to discredit mediums at all. But unfortunately, there are those who are charlatans. There are those who are fraudsters, as the same as paranormal investigators. There's those who are charlatans, fraudsters, who think, who claim to know things and are uneducated. There are those, unfortunately, who will manipulate people and take everything that they can get off them. And there are those who out there who just want to make a name for themselves and put the name up in lights, and it's all about the glory.
Yeah.
Again, there's mediums out there who do things for the correct reasons. There's investigators that go out there and do things for the correct reasons because they want to help, they want the answers, and they want to. It's not pushing themselves further in fame, but it's pushing and expanding their knowledge
knowledge and research,
where they can use that to help other people. There's no point having knowledge if you can't use that to help somebody else with it. It's pointless having it because it's there to help, to assist.
It's like this show. We're not getting paid for it.
No, exactly.
We're just taking our
time. I was under the impression you was giving me £30 for being here.
I ain't giving you bugger all.
Excuse me, that's £15 a cup. You've had 2 cups of tea.
You take American Express.
But seriously, we do this. We don't get paid for it. DJs out there on commercial radios, they get paid for doing their spot. Yeah.
Most investigators have their own jobs.
And we're trying to get advice out there and bring people on the show.
That's what it's like, though, isn't it?
I mean, it's
like a citizen's advice service to a degree. It can be, it's that type. It's a voluntary service. I mean, people might do this for a living in some groups or organisations that are strictly designed to be a business.
This is it.
That's when they're going to be charging stupid amounts of money, and people are going to be getting paid for doing that, which is fine. It's their job. If that's how they choose to do it, fine. But them type of people, and no disrespect to them, are usually the type that will get you in, get you out, get you in, get you out, because it's more bums on seats, and the more they get in, the more money they make. These people are going in for the scare, and they're not getting anything out, any beneficial data out of it. Where the most, the people who aren't doing that are more aimed at giving people the correct data, because there's a lot of psychological issues out there where people are getting emotionally and psychologically damaged because people are going into these buildings, properties, and clients and giving them silly information that they know anything about. And there's a lot of groups that are good out there, of course there is, and there's a lot of groups who are uneducated to a degree, and all they need to do is spend a little time researching, learning how to deliver information, analysed data delivery, how you deliver information.
Now I've got two scenarios for you that I've read in the past. The first one is, and see whether you come to the correct answer.
Right,
the first one is, I've rung you up.
And if you don't, I'm going to shoot you.
I've rung you up.
Put under pressure.
And plug the microphones first.
And basically, I've said to you, I'm having a bit of a problem. I'm having stuff going missing and coming up in different places. Okay. This was actually a question on my psychology course for Steve Mera's course.
Right.
And
Stevie Mera on the British Investigators training course. And basically, I've already answered the question, don't I? And he basically says that I've been having stuff go missing from my room and finding them elsewhere. And this has only been happening since I've had the grandchildren over. I think I'm haunted. But it's since the grandchildren have gone, it seems to have stopped. Right. What would your answer be to that? Well, the first thing I think is,
you mean apart from the
keep an eye on your grandchildren.
Yeah.
Don't leave your false teeth behind and your sweets, because grandchildren will nick anything, And
see you later, Joe.
See you, Joe.
And the other one is, I'm ringing you up. I've had a problem. I can hear knocking.
I'm not in at the moment. I've got a lot of phone calls going on. Can you leave a message?
I can hear knocking, and it always happens around about 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
Okay. What do you think it could be?
Is it? Have you had your plumbing checked? Is it? Your pipes?
This is it. It happens every night at 11 o'clock. What time does the heating go off?
Do I get a badge for this?
What time does the heating go off? Because every time the heating goes off, you start getting that tap, tap, tap.
Yeah, exactly. Or some people might have next door who like to, copulation a little bit sometimes at regular times of the night. But either way,
you never know.
That's it exactly. But other people might turn around and say, "What time is it that it happened?" Oh, it's 11 o'clock. Oh, that's a dark hour. That or whatever. This was. And they'll believe in it. And it's explainable.
Now,
I can ask a quick. How do you get around religious beliefs?
Yes.
I know it's a bit of a hot cake.
I'll tell you why. Because sometimes we have had people that have contacted us that are believing to the jinn and all this, that, and the other.
Religious beliefs. I mean, I put a post on my Facebook page about religion. I mean, I'm not religious myself. I'm not religious, but I don't. I'm not against anybody's beliefs. I'm a big believer that everybody's beliefs, religious or not religious or whatever, should be respected, and that obviously that they should respect mine and everybody else's. When if you're going to deal with anybody who has a religious belief, then you've got to operate on that belief. You've got to put yourself in that persona, put yourself in their shoes of how they're going to be thinking, how they're going to be adapting to certain things. Because let's say that if it was a minister or somebody that you was going to you cross path with, they're not going to believe the idea that obviously it's ghostly phenomena. They also may not understand the idea that it might be natural phenomena. To a lot of religious, and I mean highly religious people, it's usually anything that's unknown is straight away it's evil, it's the devil, and things like that, or other things are an act of God and things like that. So you have to walk on eggshells really with that. But like I said, I mean, I'm open. If I can't discriminate any form of beliefs.
I have to take your hobnail boots off.
You do. I mean, it's a big. I mean, I talk about religion to people because I've got my own views on things. I mean, there's a lot of questions that I can answer, or I ask a lot of questions and nobody gives the answers really to it. And again, you can see it on my Facebook. I ask questions against religion and to people, but without, I mean, you've got to be careful because religion has caused more deaths and more wars than anything over a period of time. So you've got to be very, very careful how to do it, as long as you stipulate that you respect their beliefs. But you're just putting over your own scenarios. And I have a lot of questions regards it where it doesn't quite sit right with me, and it doesn't quite sit right with itself, to be truthful, in some respects. But hey, that's the way life goes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And he said, go on then, ask the questions.
What question?
Well, there's a lot of, on my Facebook page, but I don't know if you've got any religious listeners out there. If you do, I do apologise if there are. I do respect your belief, but you'll have, let's say, the demon alcohol or money, the root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil, and yet some of these churches and things at their altars, they have crucifixes made out of solid gold. They have goblets made out of solid gold. They own land. They own a vast amount of wealth. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's gold or land. It's an accumulation. And it's wealth, and therefore it's still part of the money process. So therefore, it's a harvest of evil in their own eyes.
Yeah.
They also say the demon alcohol. Why is it demon? But yet they will, if you're in a Catholic church, they will give you a Holy Communion, a drink of wine. Drink this; it's the blood of Christ. But I thought this was a demon alcohol. Jesus turned water into wine, allegedly. He drank wine with the disciples at the Last Supper, but yet it's the demon alcohol. So it's very contradictory. And if you look into it, obviously I don't want to go into it too much and cause offence to anybody. It's very contradictory. There's a lot of holes in it, and there's a lot of questions that never get answered. The Spanish Inquisition, it was all religious. So it's a dangerous aspect, really. But no offence to people out there.
That's all right, Andy. And Andy's big on all the different religious groups. He looked at them all, and he'll talk to you all night about it.
Well, I'm scientific. I believe in something that I can prove. But because obviously, but there's things out there we know goes on that we can't prove. But if I'm going out to say, now it's not, when I say religion, it's not because I'm not against God or Jesus or anything like that. But, I can't say ghosts exist, but God doesn't. And I can't say that. If you can believe in one aspect, then you should be open to be able to believe in the other aspect. So I'd like to believe that they exist, and if they do, that's fantastic. That'd be brilliant. And I'll know one day. It's the actual man-made concept of it, where the church is man-made, and it's the information that they put over. It's the brainwashing that they put over to people. You have to go to their way of doing things, where God, would turn around and say, "You can worship me in your own heart." It's different.
It's really weird the way people work. There was a thing on Facebook the other day, and although it sounds a bit silly, it's true. You can tell everybody that there's an invisible man in the sky that runs everything and makes everything, but tell somebody the paint's wet and they have to touch it to make sure.
Yes, exactly.
And yet they believe the first bit.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all. People have the beliefs. Great stuff, and to some that it's the greatest book ever written, which but also there's different sides to the book where it changes over a period of time as well, where it's been missed out.
You'll have to excuse me for a minute. I got to take this off, and it makes a silly noise.
Or is it like, have you took your wind tablets, Steve?
What is
no,
NPS?
It's the Velcro on the wrist strap.
Somebody's asking, Andy's asking, what is NPS?
How did they mean?
I don't know.
In what respect?
What is NPS?
Have you been to the doctors?
I don't know. I don't know where we got that from.
I don't know. Is it similar to neural programming?
I don't know.
In what respect with your NPS? It could stand. What respect are we looking at?
Oh, right. Okay, it's all right.
That's right. They're doing it on Norwich Paranormal Society.
Norwich Paranormal Society. Hello, Norwich.
He means cultism. He's on about cultism. So... He said it is cultism, basically, at the end of the day, which it is, I suppose.
It is.
In some places.
Well, if you think about
religion is cultism.
Religion is a cultism.
It is. Religion is man-made anyway. It's man-made to a degree anyway. And when churches were formed, and it's the perception. It's what we're told when you're at school as a little child, and you're at school and you have to have the assembly and you have to do your prayers or whatever the case is, and you have this given through life. Hollywood and television also turn the other aspect into things like the darker side, the evil, and all that. That's all Hollywood. And you see, the thing is as well is where the church is concerned, if anybody's experiencing anything, now they don't believe in the aspects of ghosts, but yet they sanction exorcisms because it's evil. Now how can you say that let's say my grandma who's passed suddenly appears to me, a lovely woman who she is, and comes not to give me any harm, but in the eyes of the church, it's evil. It's an abomination.
Abomination.
That as well,
That
you know.
all.
But who's to know who's an abomination?
Yeah.
I can't say that word.
Abomination.
You know,
Yeah.
things obviously happen because they're meant to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and God, gave us the ability to have free will, gave us the ability to speak for ourselves and think for ourselves. And I'd be quite proud of looking down and thinking, my children are doing well for themselves because they can think. We've adapted and we've grown. And it's being able to identify things.
Yeah.
But we have to take into account everybody's beliefs. We have to respect everybody's beliefs. And we have to tread carefully. But, each case is different. Each person's different.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, Andy just said, and the church certainly believes in ghosts.
In the Bible, there is...
I mean, they got the Holy Ghost. They got.
Well, actually, the Holy Ghost isn't a ghost.
They got Jesus rising, and all the rest of it.
In the Bible itself, there's actually one reference to an actual ghost, how we would perceive ghosts to be today, where everything else is spiritual and spirits. Jesus was sat on the Last Supper at the table, obviously, and he had his disciples at either side, and as he glanced across the door, he saw a ghost pass by the door. Now that's actually, a reference in there. Only that one reference. So who's to know?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to religion, the only thing that really bugs me these days is all this PC rubbish.
Yeah.
How did we get onto the religions?
I don't know.
I
really don't know.
I asked you how it affects when you're doing on a private invest.
Oh, trust Steve.
Well, yeah. Well, it's the same for me. It's the same for everybody. I think everybody should be aware when they're going to do an investigation in someone's house. Be aware, get to know that person, and you're entering into their world. That's their world.
Yeah.
And so you've got to fit. They're not going to fit into your world. You've got to fit into theirs. You've got to make that world come. It's their bubble. That's the only protection that a person feels more safe in. It's their castle. So therefore, you're crossing that moat, and you have to, access that castle, and you have to respect it. And that includes not just the venue or the fittings or anything else, but also that person's beliefs, that person's structure, what that person's all about. And that way, by understanding them, gaining them to understand themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a step forward in correct data.
So what's your dream for ParaCom? What are you hoping that will come from this?
Well, hopefully, I mean, when it's finalised and gets bigger, it's a collaboration of different organisations.
Groups we're on about.
Groups.
Yeah.
Paranormal
groups.
I mean, so far there's Club Zero involved in the UK Shadow Seekers and Corvus Paranormal. Paul, good friend of mine, and these people, guys are doing it for the correct reasons. So obviously, it's hopefully to get more people in, and then hopefully maybe in the future to form some form of conferences and things like that, where we can you have one representative, let's say, from each organisation, and they can sort of get together to collaborate on the best way to deal with things, to recap on information, how it's perceived. And obviously, because we advance every day, technology changes, information gathered changes. It's to keep up to date with things, and obviously to try and help other organisations who maybe want information or guiding a little bit more. Not because we're elitists, not because we're not elite, we're not better than anybody else. But some people are a bit better in the way that they deliver the correct information, and it's to say, and obviously, for each group in their own community, to take responsibility of making sure that the groups around them, or the smaller groups, or the people around them, are updated or develop in the right way. Because at the end of the day, if something like that isn't done, I mean, nothing would go ahead without a representative from all affiliates of it in the first place. So if there was anything that we thought, well, we need to decide the best way of approaching these problems, the best way of dealing with these things, and it'd be on a voting system with each organisation, so the whole community is involved, and it's for the good of the community in the first place.
So basically, it's a Paranormal Investigators Association.
I suppose it would be something like that, but I mean, paranormal investigators aren't licensed.
No.
Which I suppose in a way is quite silly, really, because if you are dealing with the general public, and if it was a job, you have to have a CRB check anyway in majority of things.
Yeah.
Criminal Records Bureau, you have to have all that. in investigators, you're dealing with public on an everyday basis.
This is it.
So
Yeah.
why is there no? All right, we have insurance. Another thing is you might get organisations into buildings with no insurance. Insurance is expensive. We know that, but insurance should be mandatory. I think for every group anyway, because public is public, and the word public liability. It might not mean to say that these people might get injured on an investigation, but you might give them injury in a state of mind at the same time. Would that warrant under in the insurance? So therefore, you would have to sort of devise maybe an a code of ethics, a paranormal code of ethics, where like some form of a licensing, because to weed out the ones, and if these were the ones who don't follow in that respect, want to better themselves, then they should stop what they're doing, go away, learn a bit more, come back, and they've got to be a help to the general public and not a hindrance. There's nothing against these groups, but do what you want to do, enjoy what you want to do, enjoy it, but don't ruin other people's lives or state of minds while you're doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't undertake it.
In the future, can you envisage actually teaching groups how to do house investigations?
Yeah, definitely. It's not so much as teaching, because people that might come across as being, well, you think you're better than us and all that.
Yeah, actually given a blueprint to work from.
Yeah, obviously it couldn't go ahead. It couldn't work as a single unit. As a single unit it could work, but it couldn't work as a single individual. It would have to have the backing and the liaison of all the other community members with it. The bigger the force, then the bigger the word gets out there. And obviously, I know things other groups don't know. Other groups know things I don't know, and it's all development. And you're learning from each other, and together we can devise the right concept for those investigators who maybe aren't quite as advanced as others, to give them a stepping stone. It's not to ridicule them all, it's not to cause ridicule at all, but it's to ensure it's not just the public that want to be safety, but it's also a protection guard maybe for up and coming investigators who want to learn in the correct way.
Yeah.
Andy says, do you want to be an ASAP Mark II?
No. It's what actually gets done with them, they proclaim this and they proclaim that, and there's still nothing really. They do conferences and all that type of thing, and they proclaim all this and the other, but the fact is these things, what I was talking about before, still go on, so nothing gets really done about it. This way is it's a community way. That's why it's called Paranormal Community Watchdog, and it's it's only the community can do something about it. We all sit there in our homes and we all sit there on the investments. You know what? I've been to there and I can't believe this organisation's done that. Why? We've got to clean this mess up. And it happens in every community, and more or less nearly every organisation will go somewhere where someone's been before. So therefore, they can take control of their own constituency, in their own area, and put it down the responsibility to put that word over. That things should be done in the, it's not the investigative part so much, it's more of the information and delivery of the information that's given.
Right, okay, let's put it another way. Obviously, ASAP are a reputable company or group organisation that do what they do. So, on a twofold thing, what we're looking at here is that ParaCom is looking to be like a place to go if anyone needs private investigations, that that you can trust the people that you put onto them, for one. And when it comes to the venues that you were on about trying to bring their prices down, you're trying to basically get everyone to stand up and start fighting against the fact that they're putting the prices up.
Well, sometimes we've got to look at the paranormal has taken a different toll over the years, and times have moved on. We've moved on. Technology's moved on. Our thoughts and the way we deliver these things should have also moved on.
Yeah.
So we've gone from one stage to another stage, and now we have to go for. It can't just stay as it is. We have to move, and that's the paranormal investigators' insight.
Yeah.
To be able to leap forward beyond what and the only way to do that is to develop themselves by taking that plunge and going and doing that in the first place anyway, and taking it to a different level.
Yeah.
I mean, but you could have organisations who may contact ParaCom, where all these affiliated groups will be on there, and they might request, if they're doing an investigation, a member or a representative from a ParaCom might go there, so you can, wherever they are in the community, there may be another paranormal group in the same in that community who's a representative.
Yeah.
They can go along to just observe,
Yeah.
and not to chastise, but maybe to observe and say, well, you know what, here's some notes for you. I might have done it a little bit this way, or they might be there to correct something that goes wrong as well. If they're giving information to somebody there and they find that to be disturbing or potentially hazardous to somebody, they may be able to step in and help out by correcting it before it gets out of hand while it's there. Yeah. So it's not to chastise, it's to help. It's like a paranormal security to a degree by making sure the public are aware of things and making sure organisations, conduct themselves in the correct manner, and that's all that anybody really wants.
Yeah.
But also to help organisations who might need a bit more assistance by working, a bit like your KTPF, working together for the better good. So there's no I'm better than you, and it's a community thing. So every affiliate is the voice. It's not about me. No. It's not about Club Zero or anybody like that. It's about everybody, and nothing would be done without anybody being in it. Contributing to it. So that's the ideas behind it, and eventually it'll get there. I mean, it's just having the right body of people with the right trains of thought to be able to push this forward. Without the community to do it, it wouldn't be able to exist.
Steve?
Yeah, two things for you, Chris. When we've been to venues and they've come up with silly prices and they've said why, which is obviously because people charging extortionate fees. Wouldn't it be a better idea instead of getting onto them and saying, right, basically saying that you're charging too much, which basically pisses them off in the first place, before you've even started? Wouldn't it be a better idea to suggest, like we have on some venues, to have a two-tiered pricing system? Whereas you got the companies can afford the big prices, but groups like us can't because we're not making a living out of it. Also, the other thing is, would it not be a good idea once you get your site up and running properly to put on a sample questionnaire to give people an idea of what questions they should be asking when they go to these things? I mean, it took us. Well, it took Sue actually ages to find the sort of questions we should be asking, and when she did, it was about 2 inches thick, and she'd had to whittle it down to what suits.
I mean, people might turn around and say, "Well, how do you know? What organisations are going to be affiliated, and what organisations?" Because not everybody will be. Obviously, how do you determine which ones are capable to carry that forward? So you have to, something like you just done yourself there, where you're giving scenarios, and you can put online scenarios, or maybe a couple of online scenarios. You can throw a couple of red herrings in there, and you can a few people chops or whatever in these scenarios, and then the data collated from how these groups or organisations conduct themselves by answering the data on that. Or so you got to look at you got to break it down into different elements. How they've maintained this, and then sometimes they might come across people who are difficult as well, and insist that they're wrong or whatever's going on. So you've got to make it as real as possible, and break it down to elements, and then it'll be down to any affiliates to figure out, if that data is a feasible amount of data that's not going to cause any damage. Now, if a person goes in and they've got bad news and they think, well, I'm getting this, I'm getting that, and I'm getting the other, and it's bad news, then again, there is ways of stipulating that to the person without turning around and say, well, I'm sorry, but you've got a demon upstairs and I ain't coming here again, so you're on your own. If I were you, get a priest in. That person's going to be scared to hell.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But there's other ways of doing it. You can say, well, I understand what you're going through, and I know we're having bad times of things, and it does feel a bit oppressive in the air. What I would do is, you conduct yourself in your own positivity. Turn your music on, start smiling, hum a song when you come down in the morning, open your blinds, let the sun shine, or whatever it is that might alleviate their mind from such. And there's different ways. If somebody said to you, have you got a cigarette? Can I borrow a cigarette? No. They go, all right, okay. Or have you got a cigarette? I would, mate, but I haven't got one on me. I'm sorry. It's how you get a better response back from it. It's how it's delivered.
Yeah.
I think.
So, right, okay. So, what's Club Zero up to in the next few weeks? Have you got any events coming up?
28th of February, we're at Nottingley Town Hall. I've never been there before, so
it's nice.
I like Nottingley.
Yeah.
Oh, you've never been to Nottingley.
One thing to listen out for.
Is it the lift?
No, it's not the lift. When you lock up to go home.
Yes.
Every time we go, we just put the key in the door, we lock it, and we hear something on the other side of the door.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
We've had 2 different things, haven't we?
Yes.
So
keep
guaranteed.
So what might be a good idea?
So keep an ear out for that.
What I might do with that then, what you just said then, I might put a voice recorder attached to a wire. Has it got a letterbox?
Yeah.
I think it's on the outside of the wall though.
You normally hear it just as you're about to close the door.
Right. I was going to say, if you had a letterbox, you put the your dictaphone through the letterbox, and as you're shutting the door, it's recording what's noise is going on. You could
because
pull it
by
back
the time
out,
you've heard it, you're going back in to see where it came from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just heard that.
The first time we did it, we actually heard a door slam.
Yeah.
And we were shutting the front door.
Yeah.
Right.
And there is an internal door.
And we went to
between it
look, and all the doors were closed because we closed them to make sure.
Well, I've never been.
And
so
the last
it's gonna be
time we went, we heard a whistle.
Did you?
Yeah.
So
was it like a tune whistle?
Just as we were listening.
It was like
it's just somebody going.
Yeah.
Just as we were leaving.
Yeah, just as we were leaving.
We were just about to walk out the front door.
So did you go back inside, or did
we
you
went back to see if there was anybody there?
We checked to make sure we hadn't left nobody behind.
And when you came back out again, did it happen again?
No.
Just that one.
Yeah.
Just that once.
What did you think of that? Or did you? I'm turning into an interviewing you now, aren't I? So we're joined by Steve and Suzanne here from the KTPF. How did you find it at Nottingley, Steve?
I love it.
I actually really like Nottingley. One thing you mentioned the lift, and
I'd like to go back,
one time we put one of our team members in the lift and left him there upstairs.
Yeah.
We put a chair in, sat him in it, and left him upstairs.
Yeah, and we
walked
down
the stairs and to go into the cellar, and he could hear us all the way down.
And we couldn't work out why.
And he couldn't work out where. When we got to the bottom,
we asked him to open the door, and he was at the bottom.
Right.
As we went down, the lift to come down with us.
He didn't even feel it go down.
He didn't feel the lift moving, but
I've heard about the lift,
Yeah.
and with that.
so that was quite weird.
I'm looking forward to that actually
Yeah.
now because I was a bit reluctant. Oh well, I'm not sure. But,
Yeah.
I mean, don't take
I wish I was coming
don't
with
take
you.
my word for it. But
you can if you like.
Yeah.
But the cellar, for the want of a better word, the courtroom area, and usually down by the toilets on the ground floor.
Yeah.
You
really
usually
good.
get bits around
Yeah.
on that corridor anyway, but the courtroom and the cellar are usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, I look
I
forward
mean,
to that.
I mean, in the cellar, you definitely need dictaphones down there.
Yeah.
We've heard people talking and that down there.
Yeah.
So
Auditory responses and things like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'd set up trigger objects and all sorts of different things to try and implement auditory responses.
Yeah.
And on that set. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And if you
It's
do
really
if you
good.
do a Ouija board, do it in the courtroom.
We don't do them. We don't believe in it. They're outlawed in Club Zero. We don't. Some
Well,
do.
glass
Good luck to them,
divination
but
then.
we don't.
Or
Glass
divination.
divination in.
Glass. That's a bit posh.
Glass
Glass
divination.
divination.
I've been asked to tell you. I'd like to hear what you think. Oh right, we're going to do that later, aren't we? Or are you doing it now?
I can do it now.
Okay.
And thank you for the reminder. Joan went with a group that was just starting up in Norwich. They advertised for people and they got together.
He's trying to get everybody else's opinion on this, I think.
Yeah, he is. He keeps asking to get people's opinion.
Hello, Norwich Paranormal.
And they went to.
He's wrecking the place again.
I don't know. I think you've got poltergeists in here or something.
They went to this house, which apparently was, I think, was a relative of the guy that was running the group.
Yeah.
And they decided to clear this house
With the crystal.
with a crystal, and they wrapped the crystal up in tin foil
Through the crystal, right?
and threw the crystal in the skip.
Right.
And said, "Your house is fine."
Right. Okay. Did they make? Right. Okay.
There was no readings. It was all, "I'm a medium. I'm getting this. This is what you got to do."
Who was that? I did that.
Just a group that you went
there
with.
was a group we went
He was
to.
gonna join them.
And did they make little hats made out of tin foil, ready for when the aliens was going to give them signals? You know, the film Signs.
Yeah.
You know, So you get a crystal, you cover it in tin foil, and this house is clean, type of thing.
You basically smudge for the crystal and then cover it in tinfoil so it can't escape, and then throw it in the skip.
Throw it in a skip. So it's,
skip on the way home.
So
PJ
just toss it away to one side.
PJ just said another group who have no idea.
Well, John actually went back and got the crystal out, but it was a nice big piece.
Put it on the mantelpiece.
Yeah.
and he put it on his windowsill like you're supposed to do to charge it up and take it the sunlight and everything else. It's on his mantelpiece.
And he's had no problems.
No problems whatsoever.
Just goes to show you, doesn't it? I mean, people, we've done it before. We've had investigators who've done it before. I think it was at Maze Artro, and they used crystals in our investigators when it was Club Zero Ghost Group years ago. And they took the crystals out and they buried them in the ground in the complex. Obviously it's the earth, and crystals are from the earth anyway.
Yes, returning.
They were wrapped up in tinfoil and thrown in a skip. But, that's a different concept. But hey, did it work?
I don't know.
That's a good question. Did it work?
I know that because they never actually went back to find out.
He took one look at that and thought, "No, I'm not bothering."
You're a bunch of wannabes that watch too much TV, and
it's not one of them people that think Oxo's holy water or something.
Oh, I don't know.
It's a different concept, but if it works,
they now have a new group and name.
A new name.
So they've changed it to something else.
Oh, right, okay. But do they still have the same principles of the way they clean things?
I should probably think so.
Maybe they might invest in a Violator Supermop or something. Maybe. Not to be disrespectful. I don't know who you are out there, but I've never heard.
And sweep the house.
Well, they could sweep it. They get.
I'm all for smudging. It's apart from anything else, I like the smell of it.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice.
But,
do these people use sage and onion Paxo and things like that?
I don't think he stayed with them long enough to find out.
I can't believe.
But it's what everyone believes, though, isn't it? Really, at the
people's
end of the
beliefs. That's it. What works for one doesn't work for another. People's belief. And another thing too, I think when you're on investigations, I keep kicking everything. I don't know why I'm kicking everything here, but when you're on investigations. What we have to take into account as well, that when you get everybody sitting down and we're giving them a pep talk and they get ready for going on, doing what they're doing, and I want you to close your eyes, you'll be grounded, I want you to think of this and think of that. We've got to treat everybody, I think anyway, you have to treat everybody individual. Use that one person, focus, and get that person to focus on themselves and ignore everybody else around them. But when they get this, think about the person next to you and pass this like that. That person might be actually experiencing depression because they've had a really bad, heavy, crappy day. I've been at work all day, I've been up since 6:30 this morning, I've got screaming kids around me, I've got nappies up to my hands, and now I'm here running around at 4 in the morning. It's not putting on this, is it? They might do that, and then somebody else might be stood next to them thinking, I've got wind, I've eaten too much peas, before I came out.
Too much Pepsi.
So they've got different attributes, different trains of thoughts, and different feelings. Yeah. So you've got to target that individual for who they are uniquely, so I think that could cause a lot of well-being, maybe. I think,
He's just said he can give us his number to interview him.
No, you're okay.
I don't think he would like the interview very much.
It'd be an interesting listen. I'd tune in.
But anyway, so Emma's not really spoken much tonight, mind you. She did say to me she wasn't going to speak, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm just here just to watch. Watch and listen.
You can never shut her up any other times.
I don't know.
Our Tigger, I don't know if he's still left. We called him Tigger because he's full of springs and stuff from accidents. That type of Tigger. Yes, he's held together with springs and nuts and bolts.
All right, okay.
Medically speaking.
Yeah.
He was telling me about something he's discovered the other day. It's basically it's an ion detector, but what it has a light on it, and when it's affected by ions, the lights go off. So what he's thinking is, if he gets 3 or 4 of these and puts them along the room, if spirits interact with that as they move through the room, the lights will go off. You can actually watch them.
It's a good feasible explanation. I mean, obviously ions affect you, don't they? They affect your positivity, affect your negative. You can go in one room and be negatively charged, or another room statically charged. So it does affect you, and it does.
Yeah.
But
you can check that before you go in, and then set these up.
But they answered a lot of paranormal occurrences in why do I feel thing in this room and I didn't in that other room? So they answer a lot of paranormal or alleged paranormal, and it debunks it because they're only statically charged particles, ions in the atmosphere anyway. it's not. But that's a good idea, though, to do.
That's really what a paranormal investigator is all about, debunking them. Isn't
You
it?
have to do, and
Yeah.
I think 98% of it is the atmospheric conditions around you, the air, everything. I mean, so it wasn't that long ago when people thought, orbs, and I'm sorry for those of you who still believe it out there, but orbs and things. If anybody saw an orb, it was the first stage of a manifestation of a spirit. And who's to say it wasn't really? But obviously, as time went on, we learned that we shed skin particles, dust particles, and then learning about how moisture, humidity in the air is captured in the air. And when you fire your camera shot it, and it bounce back from the water in the air, which you can't see with that humidity. So some rooms are more. You get that dense. Do you know when people go in a room and they're like, I'm dead heavy chested. Yeah. I feel dead heavy chested. You can guarantee probably in that room, if you had a humidity reader, you'd find there'd be a hell of a lot of moisture held in the air, and you'd find that there'd be a lot of orbs on there. Why do I feel dead heavy chested? I'm wearing like that in the other room. And that's the way it goes. But like you just said, checking into all that on an in-depth scale eliminates so much, and it takes so much off a person's shoulders. Yeah, to do that.
Right. So we're coming to the end of the show.
Yeah, indeed.
Right, I'm just going to.
It's been great having you.
And MPS says, "Speak, Emma."
She did speak when I mentioned it. Right, just to let you know that next week we have D.A. Roberts, author of the Ragnarok Rising saga. Those of you who may remember, he came on last year to talk to us. He's written 2 more books since then, and it's all about his zombies, isn't it, Steve? It was a very interesting conversation. You was here with that one, wasn't you?
Yeah, I've spoke to him. I spoke to him on Facebook. We're friends on Facebook.
But now we're not talking about zombies as in the film zombies, are we?
No.
No. We've been talking about the people like the Miami zombies,
the real life
stories. Zombies.
Yeah.
So but Andy's away next week. I don't know. And we've also got Jenny Bryant, that's better, Jenny Bryant on from GC UK Paranormal, so she's going to be talking about her group as well. So basically, that's it for tonight. Thanks again, Chris.
No, thanks for having me again.
That's all right. And Emma.
Welcome.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks to all your listeners and everybody out there for putting up with me. And apologies for any offence I may have caused on the religious aspect.
MPS now reckons we should now interview Emma.
Yeah.
Can you swap seats, please, Chris?
Come on.
So basically, don't forget, next week.
This is where it's at.
It will be starting at 8 o'clock. Okay, because we had a poll on the KTPF Facebook page.
Yeah, and the majority said start at 8 o'clock.
Start at 8. So from 8 o'clock next week. Okay, and one of these days you'll get on to the show. You will get on the show. We'll get you on. So we're going to start at 8 p.m. next week. So please remember that. It will be on the KTPF. And that I'm away until Friday. But hopefully by next week I should have everything sorted out. And so give me a chance to do all that. And we'll see you then. So from Chris, good night.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks, Steve and Susan.
Emma, bye. Bye.
Happy hauntings.
And Steve and myself, all we can say is
keep the paranormal friendly.
Good night,
guys.
To see in the night, to measure the spike, to see how cold it's been. I buy my kit so I won't forget the ghosties that I have seen. The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.